How to make do, does, and did questions. Questions starting with do, does, and did are all yes-no questions. They are made when there are no be verbs in the sentence, and what you have are action verbs or have verbs. There are 4 important steps in making do, does, and did questions. First, identify the subject and the verb in the sentence. Example: Steve knows how to fix cars. In the sentence, Steve is the subject while fix is the verb. Second, identify if the subject is singular or plural and if the action happens in the present or past. Does is used if the subject is singular and the action is in present tense. Do is used when the subject is plural and the action is in present tense. And did is used if the action is in past tense regardless of the subject form. Third, after knowing what do verb should be used, put it at the start of the sentence. And lastly, change the verb into its base form. In making do, does, and did questions, remember that the verb should always be in its base form regardless of the subject form. Take note of the following examples. Anne lives with her aunt. The first step, identify the subject and the verb. The subject in the sentence is Anne, while the verb is lives. The second step, identify the subject as well as the verb form and decide whether to use do, does, or did. The subject in this sentence is Anne, and it is in singular form, while the verb lives is in present form. Therefore, we should use does. The third step, put do, does, or did at the start of the sentence. So your sentence will now be, does Anne lives with her aunt? The fourth step, change the verb into its base form. The verb in our sentence is lives. Change it into its base form and it will become live. So our final question is, does Anne live with her aunt? The second example, we ate mangoes this morning. First step, identify the subject and the verb. The subject in this sentence is we. The verb is ate. The second step, identify the subject and the verb form and decide whether to use do, does, or did. The subject we in this sentence is plural, while the verb ate is in past form. Therefore, we should use did. Remember, did is used when the verb is in past form, regardless of the subject form. The third step, put do, does, or did at the start of the sentence. Did we eat mangoes this morning? The fourth step, change the verb into its base form. The verb in the sentence is ate. Change it into its base form and it will be eat. So our final sentence will be, did we eat mangoes this morning? The third example, they love their parents. Let's try to see if you can answer this without a step-by-step process. The subject in the sentence is they, while the verb is love. So the question should be, do they love their parents? Do because the subject is plural while the verb is in present tense. The verb love is already in its base form, so there's no need to change it anymore. For our exercise, change the given statements into do, does, and did questions. The first one, Amy wants to buy a new toy. The answer is, does Amy want to buy a new toy? Why? Because the subject Amy is singular and the verb wants is in the present, so what we have to use is does. Want is the base form of the verb wants. The second one, Jack and Rose study music together. The answer is, do Jack and Rose study music together? Do, because the subject Jack and Rose is plural and the verb study is present. The verb study in the given sentence is already in the space form, so there's no need to change it anymore. The last one, my friends went to Paris last summer. The answer is, did my friends go to Paris last summer? The action in the sentence happened in the past, so automatically did should be used. Go is the base form of the verb went.